Hi, I'm Danielle Petti. I'm an artist in Waterloo. I make my own paints using rocks and clays and dirt that I forage locally and abroad on my travels. I'm teaching earth pigments at Homer Watson Gallery, and today I'm showing you a demo. So there are a few different methods of doing this process, but today I'm going to show you what is called the wet method using water. These are some bits of clay that I foraged in Ontario, and you can crush these pretty easily. This is also clay, but it's a bit looser and softer and easier to break up. See, you can see it breaks up in my hands. Both are good for pigment. Today I'm going to work with this one here. And for this process, I use a mortar and pestle. So I'm just filling my mortar about halfway, or a little less than half. And I want to crush that down as much as possible. And because this soil or this clay is quite soft and loose, it won't take too much effort. But pieces such as this one from the beach, or this is actually like a discarded bit of pottery, these would take a little bit more effort. All right, so I'm grinding in a circular motion here, trying to get the particle size as small as I can. And then what the water does is it isolates the finest of particles that I've crushed, and it lets those really, really fine particles kind of be suspended in the water, and it separates them. So I'm gonna fill my mortar almost to the rim. And I'm gonna stir for a few seconds just to allow all the fine particles to be suspended. All right, so I'm stirring for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna give it a chance to the heavier particles to sink for about 10 seconds. And you'll see that the water is colored at this point. So that means that the really, really fine particles are suspended in the water and the heavier ones are beginning to sink. So I want to isolate those really fine particles to use as pigment. So what I do is I pour it out into a jar. And I stop just right before those bigger pieces start to fall in. And if some bigger pieces do fall in, that's okay, because you can repeat this process. So you can get a good idea of what color your pigment will be here. And then you continue to grind further. I do this about 3 times until you think you've got all the pieces as fine as you can get them. And at this point, because it's wet mixed with water, it's like a muddy pigment. I love this color. It's like almost like a purpley brown. So I'm grinding just a bit more, and then I'm gonna repeat, add some water, allow that water to isolate the fine particles. Again. Wait for a few seconds so the heavier ones fall back down to the bottom. And pour it off into your jar, stopping right before the big pieces start to fall in. And then what you'll have is a jar, mostly water and some pigment, and just as the heavy particles sunk to the bottom, the fine ones will eventually sink to the bottom too. They just take a lot longer. So what you'll end up with after a few days is a separation where the top will be really clear and the bottom will be your pigment. So once that happens, when you have clear water at the top, you can discard that clear water. And you can pour it out into something like this to allow the pigment to dry faster in a flat dish like that. Eventually, when it dries, you'll end up with powder, completely dry pigment powder. And in the workshop, we'll go over how to mix that pigment into paint.